Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Talking Point. My name is Fahraaz Patel. I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for staying with us here on Hilaal TV, DSTV channel 347. Are the United States and Venezuela about to go to war? Well, the rhetoric, the build-up to that may seem a strong possibility. This tensions between Caracas and Washington is not something that started in 2025. It goes back to just before the beginning of the millennium, when Hugo Chavez became the president of Venezuela. 26 years on, there are boats being targeted by the United States military under its Secretary of War, Peter Hegseth, with claims from Washington stating that these vessels are carrying drugs which are linked to the Nicolas Maduro administration. Now, what we're seeing is that the US is building its army in and around Latin America for a potential conflict with Venezuela. Will we see that happening? Time remains. Joining me now to take this conversation forward, I'd like to welcome the Venezuelan ambassador to South Africa, Carlo Acevedo, for this conversation. Ambassador, absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for us and Hilaal TV for inviting me and allowing us to be here to share the truth of what is happening in Venezuela now.
Ambassador, again, as I mentioned in my intro, this did not start in 2025, it did not start in 2024. This began in 1999 when, of course, the Bolivarian revolution had become the nationalizing of the oil sector. And of course, this hurt the United States. So this has a historical context to it, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and you get into the key, to the key. 1999, we held presidential elections that won former President Commander Hugo Chavez, a revolutionary man that changed the history and of our country, of Venezuela. Just one fact that allows us also to understand what is happening now. Before 1999, we still have been an oil producer country, big oil producer country, and our main partner was USA. Of $100 that they take from our oil, they just let $1 to Venezuela, and that was the relation. From $100, we only get $1. When Chavez arrived to the presidency, the relations began to change. I mean, this relation began to change. We became to have sovereignty on our resources, and that upset the USA, of course, because they were losing these huge resources that we have. So little by little, they began to try to overthrow the revolution, and they succeed. So in 2002, when they succeed to have this coup d'etat against Hugo Chavez, but they succeed for 48 hours only, because 48 hours they capture Hugo Chavez, the people and the loyal army get back Hugo Chavez to power. And that shows to the world the immense popularity and the immense people backup of the people to this President Hugo Chavez in that term.
Ambassador, I remember in 2002, because at the time, the US had, of course, invaded Afghanistan at that moment.
Yes.
And I remember Hugo Chavez and many of the government representatives saying that this was a CIA-backed operation. Was it a failure on the part of the US at that time, given that when we saw within months the US was able to have slight success within Afghanistan, they could have maybe achieved the same in Venezuela?
Yes, remember in 2001 they began a new phase of this imperialism called War on Terrorism, attacking principally the Arab and Muslim community. And they target some countries, as Afghanistan, the first one of them, in 2001, 2002, And Chavez immediately condemned this war that they made against Afghanistan, showing, I remember him showing in live broadcasts, showing the photos of the children killed by the U.S. Army in Afghanistan, telling that where are the terrorists? Who are the terrorists?
Yes.
Really. And that also upset USA.
And then, of course, well, the U.S. would say that Chavez had expelled U.S.-backed NGOs. And of course, at the time, Venezuela had accused Washington of destabilization. When Venezuela forged ties with Russia, China, and Iran, was that really when the relationship with the U.S. had probably gone as more sour as we thought it would be? But at the time, Chavez said it was necessary given the anti-imperialism rhetoric that had happened at the time.
Yes, it's a multifactorial things. First of all, Chavez believed in multilateralism. He said the world cannot be more dominated by only one country on only one side. There have to be many sides, and he believes so in multilateralism. We are talking about year 2000.
Yes.
2001, 2002. So Russia was just beginning to stand up, and China was already getting strong. But Chavez talked about multilateralism. And on the other side, he was recovering the spirit of Simón Bolívar.
Yes.
That is our national liberator that more than 200 years ago led the liberation struggles, not only in Venezuela, but in many South American countries, South American region did, against then the imperialism of Spain. Spain was the colonial power there. And he recovered this idea of Bolívar, recovering the principles of unity in our region. That also was a threat for the USA. And it is a threat, so they considered a threat that they even greeted in this foreign policy manual called Manual de Santa Fe, where they stated that the biggest enemy that they had is Simón Bolívar, and they wrote it in the years 90. And Simón Bolívar was dead already 200 years ago. But they believed that the biggest threat for them, for their hegemony, was Simón Bolívar, because the spirit of Simón Bolívar is still alive in our continent. And the spirit of Simón Bolívar, revolutionary spirit, is unity, sovereignty for our people. The unity for them, our unity for them, is a big threat. And Chavez worked a lot on this unity. He helps to create UNASUR, that was this mechanism of union among the 10 countries of South America, but he also worked a lot to create CELAC, that is the community of states of Latin America and the Caribbean, that is still in place now. But he also tries to forge a unity between Africa and the South American region called ASACOF, together with, in that time, with Muammar Gaddafi.
Yes.
They were thinking about the unity among the global South.
Ambassador, when the West calls Nicolas Maduro a dictator, how do you respond to that?
It's a childhood reaction among what we are trying to build, this multilaterally, this unite of the global South. And Nicolas Maduro, we have to say it also, that work very close with Hugo Chavez, being his foreign relations minister.
He was his understudy, wasn't he?
Sorry?
He worked under Hugo Chavez.
He was his Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
And the one responsible of building this unity between Africa and South America, among our South American countries with UNASUR, among our Latin American and Caribbean countries in CELAC, was Nicolas Maduro as Minister of Foreign Affairs, who began to build these huge institutions. And he took the principles of Hugo Chavez and Simón Bolívar to improve or to work harder in that same path. And when they call them a dictator, because they call dictator also Hugo Chavez. But we also have to say that it's with Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro that our democracy has strengthened the most. How can a dictatorship have more, in 26 years of revolution, have more than 30 elections, national elections? Because our democracy, our revolution is based on the people. So it has to be democratic, because it's a popular power that we are trying to strengthen. We do it by elections, of course, as we have developed more than 30 national elections, but we do it also giving power to the people.
Sure.
That is our democracy, popular democracy.
What the West says, Ambassador, is that when Nicolas Maduro assumed his presidency in 2013, there was economic collapse, there was corruption, human rights violation, crackdown on opposition. So a lot of what they would say is that when Maduro had come in, these were the supposed factors that came into that. How do you respond to those comments from the West?
Our revolutions, 26 years of revolution, have been always under attack. Under attack of the Western, especially the USA. And it has been for multifactorial attacks. Sure. They have tried to make a coup d'etat, make assassinations to the leaderships, make attacking the economy. It was very, very hard, the attack of the economy, especially when former President Hugo Chavez died. They really intensified these attacks against the economy, against our currency. But also they tried to divide our country, to create some small terrorist group to divide regions of our country. They have tried everything. And everything they failed on these attacks, our revolution gets stronger. And that is what is happening right now with this huge threat that we are facing now, when the President Trump is trying to, or is saying that willing to attack our country.
In the last few days, President Maduro has been trying to speak to U.S. President Donald Trump. He's called the talks cordial.
Yes.
And then obviously President Maduro has been saying that, look here, we want peace. He quoted a famous John Lennon piece also. Surely the world cannot afford that. I would like to assume Latin America in itself cannot afford a war, because it's part of the global south, and these are emerging economies.
We are against war. We are calling for peace among our regions, among the world. We are absolutely against war, and our President Nicolas Maduro, but also Chavez, has said that we have to be always open to dialogue. And that's what our President Maduro is saying. If Trump is willing to talk with him, of course, we have to open this channel of communications. And President Maduro has also referred to this phone call that they have many days ago, saying it was cordial, and is also an opportunity. He says, any opportunity we give to the peace, it's welcome. But we are not never surrender on our principles. They have to respect Venezuela. They have to respect our country, our people. It's the only condition. But we, of course, we are open to dialogue, to talk with the, and Chavez said many times, we are even open to talk to the devil itself.
Yes.
It is possible.
Well, after the break...
That's what we are doing.
Okay, well, after the break, we're going to continue this conversation, because you have been seeing on TV the attacks that have been happening on vessels. So the U.S. claims that these are boats carrying drugs across the Caribbean Sea into the United States, many of those being linked to, as the U.S. says, to the administration of Nicolas Maduro. And we do have the Venezuelan ambassador to answer those questions. Talking Point returns after the break. Welcome back to Talking Point. My name is Fahraaz Patel. I'm still in conversation with the Venezuelan ambassador to South Africa, Carlos Acevedo. Ambassador, again, thank you so much for staying with us. Ambassador, there's a $50 million bounty on President Maduro. I just wanted to get, is it something that phases him?
Yeah, but then let me just refer to what I said before.
Yes.
Because we were talking about the phone call between Trump and Maduro, and our policy of dialogue and peace. Of course, we always we are a peaceful people, friendly, joyful, and we are open to dialogue always. But we are, because of our history, because of our spirit, we are also warriors. We are brave people, and to do no matter how to defend this peace that we are having right now. We are brave, we are determined, and we are committed with the revolution as well. That is to make clear that we are peaceful, but we are strong and brave people also. Regarding this reward that President Trump announced in his first term, it was like 15 millions. Now he raised it to 50 millions. 50 million US dollars for the head of our president.
It was also 25 million and then gone to 50 million.
Yes. 50 million.
Yes.
As it is the policy of the cowboys. Remember the Western films?
Yes.
It's the same thing. This man is a cowboy. We can laugh about it because it's so ridiculous that maybe we can laugh, but it's also serious things. How can a president of one nuclear power country said things like that? What he is trying to do is, and it takes part also of this aggression, multifactorial aggression that we're facing, because what he's trying to do is create some divisions in the inner circles of President Maduro, but in that issue we have not to be worried about. He's very solid, and he's not caring much about it. He said it's ridiculous things, but you have to take it seriously because of who is threatening us.
Yes.
No? They have the power. Of course, they have military powers, but our people and our government is also prepared to defend themselves, ourselves.
Ambassador, so of course, in August this year, the U.S. launches these deployment in the Caribbean warships. They're saying that this is to counter drug traffickers who are carrying narcotics across the Caribbean Sea. The U.S. labels Cartel de los Sols as a foreign terrorist organization. They're saying it's tied directly to the government of Nicolas Maduro. For the viewer out there, if you could maybe talk to us who Cartel de los Sols is, and is there a link to the Maduro government?
It is a crazy story, a fake narrative that they are trying to spread all around the world that has no base at all, not evidence at all. To say so. It is sad to talk about it, but it's a fake narrative that we have to
I had to bring this in because this is the reason why Peter Hegseth has ordered these strikes to occur.
They put us in terms of unveil this fake narrative. Even the UN organizations against drugs and crimes called UNOD, in his 2025 report has established Venezuela as a country free of productions of drugs and free of trades of drugs. And also, he has, the report, I mean, has stated that our struggles, or the security defense force of our country, is struggling against drugs, is very effective. And also, to say more than that, the DEA, that is the drug the agency of USA, even them, in their latest reports of 2025, they didn't mention Venezuela at all, because we are not on the map of drugs, of drugs trafficking. It's after this Trump fake narratives that they stay trying to spread that the DA changed his point of view. So the map for understanding the map of the drugs, of the 100% of drugs that goes to the USA, goes through the Pacific Ocean, through Colombia
Yes.
and Ecuador. And even President of Colombia, Petro,
Yes.
says so because they are fighting. It's the first president that are really fighting against drugs.
And they have it worse because they're dealing with cartels upon cartels.
Yeah. And
I know
Colombia is
we
the biggest-
obviously,
is
you
the
know, we
biggest producer.
romanticize the, the great drug kingpin. I'm trying to get his name, Pablo Escobar.
Pablo Escobar.
I mean, the Colombian government was fighting Pablo Escobar at the time.
This
Yes,
one,
yeah.
the government they have right now, not the past
Yes.
ones. But the drug that they produce is specifically cocaine.
Yes.
So we are talking about cocaine. 80%, 85% goes through the Pacific Ocean, and Venezuela does not have Pacific
Ocean is off the Caribbean coast. Yes.
So the 8% goes through the Caribbean Sea, through the Colombian borders, and they try to move 5% through Venezuela. That is where our security force are fighting and has seized and captured an important amount also of drugs, fighting this drug trafficking that is trying to use our territory. But it's only 5% that they are trying to do so. And it is cocaine. We're not talking about fentanyl.
Yes.
That is the huge problem that the U.S. consumers have right now. That is not even producing in South America. So it is a fake narrative that they create to justify intervention against our country, and that is clear.
And I'm going to get to, Ambassador, sorry for cutting, and I'm going to get to the stalk of regime change in the next segment. Peter Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of War, and I've been following his comments for the last few days. He's convinced that Cartel de los Sols continues to this operation of trafficking drugs from across the Caribbean into the U.S. There's been intelligence reports and there's been concerns from democratic lawmakers within the U.S. that a lot of these vessels are pure fishing vessels. They are civilian boats. They are being bombed, which goes against the contravention in many occasions, which, if we look at it, can also be totaled into potential war crimes.
And yes,
and human rights violations. So how much of a concern is that? Because the bombings are happening, but there's no clear accountability with regards to that.
Yes, they are making extrajudiciary executions. That is against international law, but it's also against their own internal laws. And some cases are being opened now in the U.S. Regarding this, because, for example, families of fishermen that has been killed are open case in the U.S. Our president of the National Assembly also just 2 days ago mentioned that we are going also to take that path of denouncing in their courts these extrajudiciary executions against fishermen. Most of them are fishermen. Colombia president is also very concerned, and it's not only against Venezuela, it's also against the region of the Caribbean Sea. That is Colombia concerned, Venezuela. They have killed also some people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
An Ecuadorian also has been killed there. So it is a policy of extrajudiciary execution, and they say it openly. They say they have killed those people. They send some missiles or some drones against them, and they kill them. Even if they were drug traffickers, they are not allowed to do that.
Because my understanding is there needs to be an interrogation or capturing first. So you can't strike.
As we have always do. They capture, they seize the drugs, they capture, they get intelligence information regarding the routes, but they don't want any witness. And they even open a case against Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War.
Yes.
Not more of defense, but of war, because on the first vessel they bombed twice. They
a first strike and a second strike.
First strikes, and they were survivors. And 1 hour later, they eliminate these survivors.
Which
on
goes
this
against
issue.
the contravention.
Absolutely.
On any. The thing is, the United Nations has come out and says goes against the extrajudicial pact that has been signed, which means they're going against the UN contravention. But
Yes,
what we have seen, Ambassador, is that the US has the supposed attitude of we don't really care.
They have said so
Yes.
also. You remember
Yes.
the speech that President Trump said at the UN, or even the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, have said, they don't care about the United Nations. They don't care about international laws. They can do whatever they want, but it's not correct. They have said so. How come?
And that's the concerning part, isn't it? Because look what happened in Afghanistan. Look what happened in Iraq. And therein lies the big concern. But the question that I want to ask you, Ambassador, is Maria Machado. She's come out and she said that the government of Nicolas Maduro is a totalitarian state. There's human rights abuses that are happening. And she's obviously a Nobel Peace Prize laureate at this moment. But when you look at her ties, a lot of people have raised concern because she's given a thumbs up to Israel, who's committing genocide in Gaza.
Yes.
And there seems to be a close tie with regards to US President Donald Trump. What is Maria Machado's supposed interest in the way Venezuela is? Because she does come, obviously, from an opposition party.
Yes, she's the leader of the opposition, the radical opposition in Venezuela. And the one who is now pushing and asking for military interventions against Venezuela. She has asking not only from the U.S., but also for Israel. She has called before Netanyahu to help her get rid of the revolution. And she's asking for more sanctions, more unilateral coercive measures against her own country. She's asking for, and she has been awarded by the Nobel Prize of Peace. It's amazing. It's very sad that this stand can the Nobel Prize is going to have because of her. It's very sad. She's still asking for intervention. She doesn't want anything but get rid of our revolution, get rid of Maduro, no place to dialogue, and also she's very unpopular.
She's unpopular in Venezuela.
In Venezuela,
Yes,
she's
right.
very unpopular, especially because of this last attitude that she takes regarding the military intervention. Because what happened with this aggression is that the people in Venezuela has been more united than ever. Even the democratic political opposition parties are against the military intervention, are against Maduro, yes, but are against the military intervention and the U.S. policy of regime change, as violent as they pretend to do. So they have to seek to unite the people of Venezuela, claiming for peace against the U.S. military threat that we have. And Maria Machado has lost popularity at the lower level she has ever had.
After the break, I continue my conversation with Ambassador Acevedo because we're going to be discussing the burning question, is Washington seeking regime change in Caracas? Do stay tuned. Welcome back to Talking Point. Now, 350 billion barrels of oil. That makes Venezuela the largest oil, or the country with the largest oil reserves in the world. We've seen this play out when we look at Iraq. Till today, there hasn't been any signs of weapons of mass destruction, as was told to us by George W. Bush and Tony Blair. So what does this mean now for Venezuela? Ambassador, as what we see there on the lower third, is the United States seeking regime change in Venezuela?
Yes, I have to say yes, he's seeking for that since the revolution became 26 years ago. As I told you before, they tried to do so on. They tried to do the coup d'etat against Hugo Chavez. They tried to divide our region. They tried to manipulate the political opposition to get power. They tried to impose these unilateral coercive measures that has really affect our economy. They tried to do everything they can to overthrow our revolution. And they haven't succeeded. And they are taking now a very dangerous path that is the military path directly from the US. And they are not going to succeed.
Ambassador Citgo in this week, that is Venezuela's largest oil-producing company, if I stand to be corrected, but it's a very important oil-producing company. It's officially gone now from the United States. You mentioned to me off air that it had a number of gas stations across the country. Yes. And this was established way before Hugo Chavez came into power. That move by the United States, what's the Venezuelan take on that?
Yeah, it's very sad, but it's part of the strategy of aggression. It begins in 2019 when they seized our oil company called Citgo. That is our main company outside the country, because inside the biggest company is PDVSA. But it was a huge country in foreign cities. It was based in the US. And we count 3 refineries there operational, but also 10,000 gas stations. We try to reduce it because it was 15,000. We try to reduce it. But this is still there, this main company that its value is $20 billion US dollars.
Citgo, yeah.
Citgo,
right.
The value it has. So it's a huge company that they say in 2019 when they tried to impose another president. You remember the episode of Juan Guaidó?
Yes.
In 2019, they just said, no, President of Venezuela is not President Nicolás Maduro, that just has won an election. But this man called Juan Guaidó, that we didn't knew where he came from. They just choose it and put it as a president, and it was a strategy also to seize our assets in the world, because they seize this huge company called Citgo, but they also seize our gold, our reserve gold that was in the Bank of England, and also our international bank accounts. They seize all our assets in the foreigners. And they have it like this, I mean Citgo, and 3 days ago, they used auction, and was sold at the lowest price to another company.
Yeah, it's an American conglomerate that has bought out Citgo. But my understanding is it needed to obviously, before you sell a company, you need to alert the shareholders.
It affects us. We are rejecting this decision of the court, and we are asking for reappealing, and we are still fighting, because it's a company that belongs not to the government of Venezuela, but to the state of Venezuela, to all the Venezuelans. It not can be sold like this.
Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world.
We do. And this is
Is that something that appeals to the United States, which would make them say, we need regime change, but there could be ulterior motives? I mean, this is not conspiracy theory. It just, when you look at what oil represents, why I bring US President Donald Trump into this is because he believes in fossil fuels to the core. When it came to the G20, I know you kept an eye on that, Venezuela kept an eye on that. He was one of, actually the only country which probably rejected the path towards green energy or renewable energy. And when you put 1 plus 1 together, it kind of makes sense for Venezuela to be this attractive proposition.
Yeah, they don't believe it. He don't believe in climate change. He says it's nonsense.
Well, he didn't attend COP30.
Yeah. But they have the problem because they are running out of oil. They produce oil as well, but they are running out. They don't have even for 10 years. It's ending. It's finishing. That is what they are desperate also to get our oil, that are, as you said, the major oil reserves in the world. And it's very close to them. 3 days of journey,
Sure.
An oil ship. It's better to get it from the Persic Gulf, for example. And I will say more. We are okay with that. We can sell our oil to you.
But there has been trade with Venezuela.
But you have to
because,
pay.
Yes, but here's my
what this
understanding.
thing with-
Even with the sanctions, there were times where the sanctions were lifted. And Venezuela was ready to conduct business as usual.
Yes, yes, we're open to it, but they have to pay. It's normal. Because they wanted, as they used to have it
Yes.
before the revolution. No, we can sell it to you. We can do business with you. But you have to pay the price, the right price. And for instance, as you said, there are U.S. companies, even with these unilateral coercive measures, there are still U.S. companies working and producing and exporting oil to U.S., such as Chevron.
Yeah.
That is a big company.
They're one of the largest U.S.
Yes, yes.
Oil companies.
They are operating in good terms with our government, in our conditions. It shows that it can be done. The business can be done in that way. But for any situation, he's upset because it's true. He wants our oil. He wants to control our oil sector, our oil resources, but also mining, because we are rich in mining. But especially, why we said they want to overthrow our regime? Because we are, for them, bad example, but I say we are a good example for the region to show that we can own our resources by ourselves. We can be sovereign with our resources. We can build a popular democracy, power to the people, not to the corporations. So we have shown that it is possible to really have a revolution, to really have a better life in our country with our people. It's a good example that for them.
Ambassador, Donald Trump has stated that he authorized covert operations, which of course is conducted by the CIA, right?
Yeah.
In order for that to obviously occur, it would need to have the locals within Venezuela operating or assisting them. This is just the way it works when foreign agencies, of course, enter other countries. How does President Maduro then balance the interests of national security vis-a-vis that of not having crackdowns, which the West accuses Venezuela of? How does he find that balance?
Yes. First of all, Trump's don't need to announce covert operations, but because we know it's the history.
Well, he's announced it quite clearly.
Yeah, it's the history of the CIA, not only in Venezuela, but in all our continent. And they have been this policy of regime change since the Monroe Doctrine that they believe in. So they have killed presidents, they have made coup d'etats, they have killed leaderships, they have tried to interference in elections. They have been very operational in our region and in Venezuela as well. But we have also developed a very effective security and intelligence force that have succeeded to unveil plots and groups that are trying to make plots. In that terms, we have been really effective, and we're still working on this because, of course, we know they have tried to get people inside with Venezuelans, but also foreigners. Just 1 month ago, we unveiled a huge quantity of explosives as well as weapons, and we captured some people.
Inside Venezuela, there was a potential coup d'etat attempt. Yeah.
They are trying to work on this issue also.
Would you say there's foreign interest in this? in terms of Western interest? Assisting?
U.S. interest.
Yeah.
It's the U.S. interest. Yes, yes. They tried to do so. Remember, in 2018, they tried to kill President Maduro with a drone. He was in a public meeting amongst thousands of people, and they tried to launch a drone against him. But it was intercepted.
I've got 1 more minute before we just go to the break, Ambassador. President Maduro has written to OPEC. For historical context, Venezuela was one of the countries that founded OPEC, or one of the founding members of OPEC. In 1 minute, what are you hoping to occur from that?
Yes, we're still an important member in OPEC, very active, very dynamic, and I have to say that it's an organization that we are working closely with, not only regarding the price of oil, but also the geopolitical of oil. We have very good relations with the General Secretary of the OPEC, but also with the mostly of the countries that take part at OPEC organization. So for us, it's an important ally.
After the break, I wrap up my conversation with Ambassador Acevedo. The threats of war. Is Venezuela prepared for what might come should the United States launch these attacks? Talking Point wraps up after the break. Welcome back to Talking Point. I'm wrapping up my conversation with Carlos Acevedo, the Venezuelan ambassador to South Africa. As we speak right now, Ambassador, the United States, across various countries of the Latin American part, have their warships, have soldiers getting ready. But Venezuela has an army of their own. For the power that the U.S. Army possesses, I think both you and I can agree that they possess that. Is Venezuela ready should the worst case scenario unfold?
We are peaceful people, as I said before. We are calling for peace, but we are prepared for whatever it takes to defend our peace. And we have prepared on what we call the principle of the war of all the people. So we have the army, yes, very well trained, with very good equipments, but we have also the people. Our people is trained as militias. More than 5 million civilians receive now military training, volunteers, preparing to defend our homeland against the biggest war machine that exists in our world, that is the U.S. We know that. But as our Simón Bolívar said, our liberator said, it's impressive how a bunch of men and women can even defeat empires, because we have done before. More than 200 years ago, we defeat a big empire called then Spain.
Yes.
We defeated, we get our independence, and we succeed. And the spirit of Bolivar is alive among us, among our people. It is truly alive, you can see it. And it's important to quote what Bolivar said to a U.S. special envoy, and I'm talking about 200 years ago, when the U.S. was rising as the new imperialism. They sent a special envoy to Venezuela when the revolution was going on with Simón Bolívar get the independence. We create this great nation called Colombia, that was Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, but also willing to add Peru and Bolivia. It was a great initiative. And U.S. was very concerned because they were thinking already in the Monroe Doctrine and don't want what they are seeing in our region, in South America. So they sent a special envoy. And Bolivar rejected him, but tell him, a phrase that is still alive today, that is, look, the war of independence of Venezuela was very hard, was very bloody, and Venezuela lost half of our population in that war, half of our population. And he says to the U.S. Special Envoy, but believe me, we, our people, are ready to lose the other half in defending what we have achieved, our independence. And it's the spirit that is alive now in Venezuela.
Ambassador, is that a concern for Venezuelans? I want to go to 22 years ago when the war in Iraq had happened. And we know the circumstances to that. And even many Western commentators were against the war, whether it was from Britain or the United States. And we saw how the overthrow of Saddam Hussein had happened at that time. Is there concern from the government of Nicolas Maduro? Is there concern from the people that a very similar fate awaits the people of Venezuela if the worst case scenario happens? Right now there's nothing happening, but if a worst case scenario does happen, is that something that the Venezuelan people are prepared for?
Prepared for war is something very difficult. Because war,
no, it's not easy. It's never easy.
It's the worst thing.
Yes, definitely.
You lost your beloved people. You lost many things.
And the thing is, Latin America has gone through so many coups d'etats.
Yes.
They've gone through so many guerrilla wars that it can't afford any more of this.
Yes. But we look more to Vietnam than to Iraq. We look more to Vietnam because Vietnam succeed, even if they lost 3 million people. They have succeeded. We like to look more to Vietnam. And we are committed with our resistance and resilience. We are committed that we will prevail and we will win. Of course, we recognize they have a huge power, but we also have a huge power. It's a moral power, it's the spirit we have, and the friends we have also.
You speak of friends, but you could have a challenge within the continent. Javier Milei, Argentina's president.
Yeah. But
how much of a hindrance is he in that regards? Because Donald Trump has just bailed Argentina out. He's got very close relations with Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. And it's quite clear, even here at the G20, Javier Milei did not come because he backed Donald Trump's boycott of the G20 that happened in South Africa. So is that a hindrance in terms of unity within the South American continent?
He's very linked to the US, to Israel, but he has also his own concerns, internal concerns. The people of Argentina, even if they have this president, is also a very fierce people and combative people. And the people of the US, they don't support this war. They don't support this trade that Trump is trying to do with Venezuela and in the Caribbean. If you say the last surveys, the majority is against that, against the war in the Caribbean, against the war in Venezuela. So we count with this also, this strain. And I believe we are sure that the people of Latin America and the Caribbean will always be against the war, against this military intervention, and supporting peace and Venezuelan. You know, CELAC, this is the Community of States of Latin America and the Caribbean, has stated in these principles that our region is a region of peace, and that cannot be broke. It's the only region that don't have war, indeed. And we don't want this war, but we have the strength of resist whatever scenario we will have to face.
Venezuela has allies of very similar political ideologies in Brazil under President Lula and Colombia with President Petro. Is Venezuela leaning on them? I'm not saying to assist militarily, but from a diplomatic perspective.
Yes, we are working with them closely in a friendly way. And it's true that also the composition, the political composition of the continent seems not to allow them to have a proxy war. That say use another state to make war against Venezuela. That is also one strategy that they are thinking to do. The geography also helps. Even Guyana and Trinidad, that we have made have some problems. Their people don't want to have any war against us. Colombia is important. It's important the resistance that President Petro is doing, that is trying to call for peace also, to stop the war, because Colombia was their main ally in the continent. They have 7 military bases, U.S. military base in Colombia. And it was, they were the one who trained the military force. Israel was also working very closely. But fortunately, President Petro won the past elections, and they changed this relation.
His ideology does not sync with that of Donald Trump.
No, we're working in a good terms with President Petro. And he has also made good statements against this threat of war.
Ambassador, how would you...
And he's president, he's the chair of CELAC.
CELAC, yes.
That is also very important.
What would you want from the international community to avoid any potential conflict, especially from South Africa? South Africa's played a there's a close relationship between obviously Venezuela and South Africa.
Good relations.
What would you want from South Africa? What would you want from other countries of the global South, even from the global North, to try and avoid a potential conflict?
Even of the global North, as you said, we are calling for the respect of our sovereignty, the respect of international law, the respect of the Charter of the UN, and condemning any threat of war or of military intervention. That is what we are calling off. If they are stick to this international law, they have to go against the military threats that we are facing right now.
One final question.
And they have done so.
Yes, yes.
You know, there is a group, important group in the United Nations called Group of Friends in Defense of the UN Charter that has just released a statement condemning this U.S. military threat in the Caribbean. And there are big countries belonging to this group, such as China, Russia, Palestine, Iran, also from Algeria, Cuba, that is always very supportive with us, with our people, but also Nicaragua. So many people belonging to this.
One final question, Ambassador. The character of President Maduro is a revolutionary one.
Yes.
Strong character, he won't give up. Where would President Maduro draw the line if the US says, forget everything about the United Nations, we don't really care, which you see the rhetoric now, it's pretty obvious, it stands at the present, at this moment, that they will go into Venezuela, they will seek regime change. Where does President Maduro draw the line to say, to avoid bloodshed, he will step down? Is that within his character to say, I will do that for the sake of my people?
He will be always for our people, and the people always is going to be for him. It is important because to avoid bloodshed, blood spread in our country, it's not necessary him to leave. If in the hypothetical case that he leaves, blood is going to come also. Because the problem is not President Maduro. The problem they have is the revolution that we have built, is the popular power. And popular power is millions of people. It's not only the main leaders. So that is to say that Maduro of course, is the president, is the main leader, but it's not only him, it's the people of Venezuela. So what they have to do is to talk to us, to see how we can live together, is what we are asking.
I have to stop you there, Ambassador, but I will say from my parting words, the last thing I think the world needs is this to happen, because oil prices will go up, cost of living will go up, and I think that's the last thing the world reads right now. Beg your pardon, and we hope that there will be a diplomatic solution to this. Ambassador Acevedo, absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. No matter what, we are going always to stay firm, stay strong. In our foreign policy, we were still fighting and working for multipolarity, for this multipolarity world that BRICS is very key in this, and South Africa belongs to BRICS. But we will always supporting Palestine, the Palestinian people, the Palestinian cause, as one of our cause also.
Ambassador, thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
That is Ambassador Carlos Acevedo, the Venezuelan ambassador to South Africa. That's all we have for you here on Talking Point. From myself, Fahraaz Patel, and the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.